Hey, what's up, guys? Just want to show you a quick tip on how to get lights up onto some peaks and how to hide the wires, how to hide the connections, and something that I screwed up on. So let me show you what I did. Basically, I'm up here on the peak of my shop. Yep, down there. So I've got a 24-foot extension ladder. We're probably up, I don't know how high this is, 17 feet or something like that. But got the downlight, I got it mounted up there. And basically what happened when I originally did this install, it was about 3 years ago. And this light I noticed was sometimes out, sometimes on. And called the manufacturer, like, what's going on? And they didn't really know. And I'm like, man, what's wrong with your lights, right? Well, I get up here to replace it. By the way, check out this view. That cool? Doesn't suck living here. Actually, it does suck living in Utah. Don't move here. But manufacturer didn't know what it was. When I came to replace the light, I found out what it was. I want to show you what you guys can do to avoid having failures. The bracket that this light mounts into right there has a little notch for that wire to come out, and I had tightened it down too much and it was basically crimping. Now you see how there's some movement there. That's a good thing, right? So that there's a little bit of movement front and back, so it's not pinching it. And when I installed it, I wasn't paying close enough attention and I pinched that wire. So over time, if you pinch a wire like that, sometimes not even over time, sometimes it's the first night, it's gonna create heat, and it's gonna increase the amps, and it's gonna cause potentially a fire. So you gotta be careful with that stuff, guys. And that was just user error on my part. So basically I got the new leg, the new driver right here, painted it white. These fixtures don't come in white, but I wanted white on the trim right here. So I just painted it and literally just got spray paint and painted it. And so now I want to show you guys how I'm going to hide wire right here underneath this flashing. And you can see I've already got the wire ran, you know, from previously, but this is the wire coming in, and it just tucks up nicely under there. You can see, you can't see any of the wire or anything like that, but there's a little void in there that it sneaks into really nice. So what I'm going to do is I want to show you a cool way to get some lighting shrink, heat shrink connectors in here without it being a real pain in the butt, because I've screwed this up before too. So, all right, so one of the things I like about using lighting shrink heat connectors is they're neat and they're clean. It's a solid connection. There's really not a better way to do it. It does take a little bit more time. It may cost a little bit more money to buy the connector, but don't worry about that because they're awesome. But you can see the size of this, and then you imagine it's going to shrink down. I'm going to show you guys how that works. But trying to hide two of these, because you're going to have one for each wire up in here, can become a little bit of a challenge. So what I've done is I've stripped the wires so that they're not going to be next to each other. So you see how we've got one wire that's shorter and one wire that's longer. That way we can have one connector offset from the other. So that's the best tip for doing installations like this, where it's a challenge, it's a really tight space, and I'm using the smallest connector that I can, but it still is going to create some space in there. So if you try to do two of them together, it's just a lot harder to get it up there and hide it and everything. But I'm going to offset them with two different wire lengths, and you'll see how much easier it is to hide that wire. All right, so now we're ready to put the connectors on. Lighting Shrink has 3 different sizes. This is their smallest one. It's the blue one, and it's small, but it's still, you know, you still have to fill it with enough strands of that wire in order for the crimper tool to work. So if you have just one wire going in, depending on like the gauge of the wire and how many strands you've got in the connector, you may have to do some tricks. So this is 12 gauge wire that I've got coming to it, and I basically you might be able to put one in, but I don't want to crimp it and find out that it's not big enough. So what I did was I just stripped this wire a little bit longer than normal, and then I folded it upon itself to make it twice as thick. The fixture, I think this is a 16 gauge wire that it came with, maybe 8 now. I think it's 16 or 18 gauge. I actually double folded it. So I even did it, I stripped it longer, and then I basically folded it in not half twice. I kind of did it in thirds, and then folded it again so it's even thicker. Now when we go ahead and do it, this crimper is going to slide right on there, and I know it's going to be able to crimp. If not, like I said, you can experiment with this stuff on your own. If it's just too few of strands and you go to crimp it down, this thing will still pull right off. that's not a good connection. It needs to be tight, so even when you pull on it, it's not going to come undone. So these are ready to go. I'm going to get the crimper tool out and get this thing hooked up. All right, so we've got our wire here. I'm just going to do one at a time. You can see how I've got the one strand here, and I'm just going to fold this one time because it's a thicker cable. Okay, and then now that it's folded, I'm just going to be able to slide the connector right on, and I kind of do a twisting motion just to that way if it is a little bit too thick, it'll still go on there. Once it's on there good, it's not crimped yet, then we get our crimper tool out. This is way easier to do on the ground because you're not balancing on a ladder. So we have our crimper tool here. Nice thing about Lighting Shrink is they got the different colors. So you use the blue connector with the blue and the yellow with the yellow and the red with the red. It's small, medium, large. And this tool won't release until it's tight enough. So you can see like it should be tight enough here, but it's not. And then once you squeeze it, then it will release once it's tight enough. That way you're not having to guess. And so definitely don't try to cheat the system here and just use pliers or wire strippers. So line it up with the blue because that's the connector we're doing. Squeeze it, and then once again, it will only release once it's tight enough. So now we know we've got a good connection on there. Now I'm going to do the same thing for this other side. The thing to remember when you're using Lighting Shrink is once you have one side done, don't forget to slide the heat shrink over it. Otherwise you'll get it connected and then you have to figure out how to do magic to get this on. I've done that too many times to remember. So make sure you slide that on and then you're good to go. You can crimp this other wire to the other side. So I'm gonna go ahead and get these other ones hooked up and we'll show you what it looks like before we actually do the heat shrink. All right, so now we've got everything connected and we've got the heat shrink tubes already ready to go, so that's cool. And we'll slide it over the halfway point so you can get that centered over there. And then we'll start the actual, get the torch out. So this is when, you know, you feel a little tough for the day. So sun's going down and have a beautiful sunset here, it looks like tonight, whatever it is. But you could see already how they're going to be offset. So That's going to make it so much easier to tuck that wire up in. So don't feel like you always have to do your connections right next to each other. And then again, don't forget, make sure you got some wiggle room in there on your mounts. You don't want to pinch that. Don't screw up like I did. You got to be careful on that stuff. So then right now we're just going to finish up that heat shrink and then tuck that wire up in there. And basically, I don't know if you can even see, I'll try to hold the camera over there, but then we use the rain gutter as a raceway for the wire. I'm not even sure if you could see that. So it's an easy way to get wire to places. So actually I'll show you another view of some of the other lights I did. All right, so here you can see where we used this downspout right here to get wire up for these little mini spotlights downlighting this area, and the wire in the gutter there, just zip tie the wire to the tops of the gutter, and there you have it. So you can actually see where the wire is coming out underneath that shingle, and basically you'll drill up from the bottom of that soffit and use a metal plate to stop from drilling all the way through that shingle, and then just have the wire come out there, do the connection in the gutter, and you're good to go. All right, so I ran out of breath because I had to go down the ladder. Didn't want to have the torch up here with me the whole time. I like this yellow MAP gas. This is a cool torch because right here you can, there's a little dial to control the flame, and then just a trigger, just pull and heat. So you just got to be careful, take your time. No reason to rush it and like light everything on fire. So we'll see if I can do it up here on the ladder, and little old rusty me. So I'm gonna put it on the ladder here. Let's see how this looks. We're just gonna do one at a time and go nice and easy here so we're not melting other wires. Just checking to make sure I got it lined up. When you do this, you don't need to be right on it like this. I mean, this is a really hot torch, so give it some space. Start in the middle. Once it starts to heat up, you can kind of go more to the outside, and you're gonna look for the ooze. It'll shrink up, which is a good sign. And then you'll see the ooze coming out on each side of the wire, and you know you're done. All right, so what a good time to run out of gas when you're making a video, but I think we got that one done. I was starting to panic because I could tell it's getting low, and I was like, "But I'm filming a video." So I went a little aggressive, but not really. I mean, you can see there's almost a singe mark on it. That's not a problem. I've tested these things and they're freaking awesome. So look for the ooze coming out both sides. That's a great sign right there. You'll notice I did twist it a little bit after I got started because I didn't want to just put all the heat on one side. If you go slow enough, you don't even have to twist it, but I like to do it. I like to twist it. So that one looks good. It's cinched up around there. The ooze is coming out on the outside. We're gonna get a new canister so we can do the other one, and then we're gonna let this cool a little bit. These are pretty hot, you know, because they were just being torched and stuff. So we're gonna let that cool, let that harden up, let that dry before we shove it up in there. But just me going and getting another canister from the shop here will give that one some time to cool. Then we'll get this other one done and hide that wire up in there. All right, we got the new canister. We should be good to go. So we got this second one. This one is awesome. Almost looks like I know what I'm doing. So let's get this other one done. We can beat the sun down. Again, I'm just gonna confirm the location, make sure it's over the middle of it, best as possible, and start shrinking. This is way easier on the ground. You want obviously you want to be careful about what's behind. You don't want to get too close to the house or whatever. That's important. Here we go. See how it's already shrinking up? That's good, and then it will kind of hold itself in place, and then you can move it around. Come up from the top side. Make sure your fingers aren't in the way. Now I'm going to go to the outside. The inside's pretty much shrinking. I'm going to go to the outsides and make sure that ooze comes out. It's looking real nice. So you can see on both sides we got the starting to ooze out. Perfect. So now we're just going to let that one cool, and pretty much done. So I'll show you what this looks like before we tuck it up in there. Again, just showing you how to offset those connections makes it way easier to hide them. I've tried it both ways, so I know by experience. And some of these things you just don't think about until someone makes a video about it. So that's what I'm doing. And then you want to get your fixture adjusted, aimed out. I've got it actually pre-aimed pretty good. We might pull this down just a little bit. This have an adjustable knuckle that you can cinch down once you get it to where you want it to be. So I'm excited to have this light working again. It lights our whole kind of down driveway area right here. Right there. So, hope you guys got a lot out of this video. I'll get these wires tucked up and show you what it looks like. All right, let's get these wires tucked up in here. So, this one is completely cool to touch. You see the nice ooze coming out. This one's still a little bit warm, but it's hardened up and it's not hot. It's just a little bit warm. So, man, that sunset's even getting better. So, let's go ahead and tuck those up. Call it a night. Just basically getting a flathead screwdriver, and you'll see up in here there's a little nice space for this wire to go up in there. Another trick you can do, I think this is 12 gauge. My eyes aren't good enough to read right now, but you can also use smaller gauge wire to get it up in here. And I probably just didn't have any, so I was like, oh, I'll do 12. But I wouldn't do the whole home run on small gauge wire, but certainly for just a little run like this, that's only maybe 15 feet, you're not going to have to worry as much about voltage drop. So it definitely makes sense to do a smaller gauge wire in this case. It just makes it so much easier to hide. So get some of this wire up in there. You could tell, I don't know if you could see on the video, but there's a little void up there, and taking a little bit more time around that connector because, it's bigger. It's harder to get in there. So just making sure it just goes up there nice, and being careful not to pinch the wire, being careful not to cut, you know, obviously nick the wire or anything like that. I'd rather take my time, do the job right the first time, even though I didn't last time. I was probably in a hurry, not making a video about it, and that's what happens. So take your time, do it right. Cool. All right, that is a wrap. So we got the wire all tucked up in there. You can see at the very top, obviously you're gonna have some wire. The only way to really avoid that would be maybe mounting that a little bit higher, but from the ground, actually no one's gonna see that. And that's why I like to have that wire exit on the top side of the fixture. But yeah, looking good right there. So yep, that looks good. So hopefully that helped you guys. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions or any more instruction or detail on this.